Tim Dammer, Georgina Speaks. I just wanted to do this few second clip to before I introduce my first Midnight Madness clip, to thank John McLean for his guidance, his moral support, and his financial support in this endeavor to do with the judicial review of counsel and their actions and the way that this entire thing has gone. Special thanks to Martin Nash. Special thanks to the 7 other litigants that sued the town with me. We're getting close to the finish line on this, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. And then this first segment of the Midnight Madness podcast for Georgina Speaks is this one is the first of a few that I'm going to do. And I've discussed them with John, and he advised me to temper my my criticism a tad. And it's good advice. I tend to get kind of wound up. So there, I'm expecting John and John McLean and Martin Nash to include into these podcasts as I move along in this particular. I want to do 10 or 15 minute segments so they don't become too long. And now I'm getting too long again. So here we go. We'll move into segment 1. And again, thanks, John. Thanks, Martin, as always. Talk to you soon. Good evening. My name is Tim Darmrock, and this is Georgina Speaks, Midnight Madness, a little thing I like to call Midnight Madness. I just wanted to try this, and I'm going to do some 10 or 15 minute segments to address on an ongoing basis some different things that I'm working on. So my podcast, and it's coming to you from my humble abode here in Cuba, and love my winters here, love my family here. So I thought this would be a great way to do it. I'll record this and post it later. So one other little announcement today. I received the rights to a line out of to use a Woody Guthrie song, "This Land Is Your Land," because in my Thank You Bob Dylan song that I wrote, I used one line out of that song, that particular line, reminiscent as a tip of the hat to Woody Guthrie, who was Bob Dylan's idol. And Bob Dylan was my idol. So when I wrote my Thank You Bob Dylan song, I just included it. Wasn't thinking about it at the time. I just thought it was a tip of the hat to Woody Guthrie, whom I deeply respect as well. And I read all about Bob Dylan, visiting him in the hospital in his final days. And so there's a large connection there. But when I got the rights to that song today, then as the original writer of that song, Woody Guthrie became the co-writer of my Thank You Bob Dylan, which is a song written for my idol, co-written for my idol by me and his idol. So it was an amazing completed circle for me, and I love it. So anyway, Midnight Madness was something I've been dying to do in the quiet of the night when I have time to think about things. And so my podcast has to do with my music, which I love. It's my bucket list endeavor, and I've enjoyed it for 5 years with the support of great people like Connie's Music, who have supported me in everything I've done in that regard, both here in Cuba, where I am now, and in Canada. We send stuff back and forth, whatever we need to do to get whatever done. So there's that. And then my cooking, which is I just love doing it. Don't know why, but I love cooking large batches of food and just dropping it off to people to eat. There's some good feeling that comes out of that for me. So that's another thing. And in that regard, I'll be off to milk a cow on Saturday for another one of my silly segments. And so that's to do with the food aspect of things. I build houses, so I'm going to go, in these Midnight Madness segments, I'll do portions with regard to houses that I'm going to be building, houses that I have built. And then I'll be going through the process of building your own home as well, with lots of artwork from the different houses that I built. And so there'll be that. And then, of course, there's my legal pursuit of justice, which for me is quite a passion, actually. And it's not something you get to do every day, but every once in a blue moon, when you do manage to effect a little justice, it's pretty cool. So that's that. And so I'll get started in a minute. So which one am I doing here? Thought I would do a little song of some kind. So I'll just do a little picking song that I've been doing. Scale. I don't know how to do that yet. But anyway, I got to go over to the other iPad because it's in front of my computer, and I need my computer to address the legal aspects of what I'm going to talk about. So take care, and we'll talk to you in about 2.5 seconds when I go over there and sit down. Okay, so we got the old guitar put away, and I'm just going to get down to it here. This segment, and we're just going to try and keep it to 10 minutes or so as an introduction to a process that I've set upon. As I said, Colin Brown has agreed to go back on the record, and him and John Hart are going to sort this out, either hopefully through negotiation and some attempts before we have to actually go to judicial review. But I won't settle unless I get some costs awarded to me, because I'm on the hook for quite a bit. So what I'd like to start with is I'm going to show you what's called the respondent's application record, and it's the John Hart, the town lawyer. That's their response to my judicial review, complete with exhibits. It's about 300 pages, 30 odd exhibits, something like that, and he even included our 8 claims that we sued the town, and they settled for some reason. I don't know why he claimed that, but that gives us a right to actually cross-examine Andrew Biggert. But I'm hoping we can avoid that as well. So I'll show you the cover of that application record, and over the course of the next month or so, 2-3 weeks, couple of weeks anyway, I'm going to do a 10-minute here, 10-minute there, and I'm just going to go through so it's really clear to the residents of Lake Drive and the larger community what's gone on here, what council has done, and more specifically the mayor, because the mayor's running this show, and any time the councillors have stepped up to try to stick up for the residents, or at least have some form of reason prevail, she'd call in her henchman there, Andrew Biggert, and he would put them in their place with some threat of liability, and it's ridiculous. Whatever process they used was absolutely ridiculous, has no meaning. It's just, it was a way of getting past another meeting so that the mayor could get whatever she wants. That's just my opinion. You know me, Margaret, Madam Mayor, I supported you when you first got into office, but you're not the person that I supported. You have a different management style than I thought you would have. Lots of people have it. It's a totalitarian, it's a brutal process, and I disagree with it. So that's all it's about. Love you, think you're a wonderful person, but in this setting and as a mayor, I don't think you've handled it very well. That's just my opinion. And there's probably a gazillion, 44,000 other people in Georgina that think differently. And I would defend to my death their right to think differently. So that's that. So you can see here I'm putting up the application record cover so you see what it is I'm talking about. And there's 30 exhibits. Exhibit 3 that I'm going to discuss first would be the actual bylaw that the staff brought to council, which was a decent bylaw. And they're all exhibits attached to the affidavit of Dave Redden. And I won't go into Dave's affidavit that much except for to discuss different issues. And Dave Redden, I got to stay categorical. I couldn't be happier for the guy. He's retired. He gave us 40 years of service, and his integrity is beyond reproach. And I don't imagine he was all that happy about being stuck in the middle of this nonsense. But some good stuff come out of all of this. Within the framework of both the bylaw and his affidavit, he framed the entire thing as a long-standing ownership dispute. An ownership dispute. 2 parties believe they're owners, having a dispute, acknowledge that it's been going on for 35 years. So no matter how you cut it, the original agreements and policies and regulations that have been put in place were put in place as a result of negotiations between those 2 parties, an ownership dispute. And just as a sidebar, Andrew Biggert sitting in council chamber telling the other half of the ownership dispute, if you don't sign over your rights to this dispute, if you don't agree that we own it, we're going to mess you up real bad. And that's exactly what his recommendation was. Notify everybody, if you don't play ball, we're going to mess you up real bad. Fence your property off, and I think that calls for a cartoon, and I'm going to put it up right now. And there's the mayor sitting on the old machine, tearing down your boathouses, and there's Andy knocking away building a fence. Now that's what this is all about. That's what they said they're going to do. They can't do it, but what they are getting away with is refusing permits. And that's the most reprehensible part of all of it, because they have no right to do that. And I'll get onto that part, because if you go along further in the bylaw, there comes to another part of that. It's Exhibit 7 of Dave Redden's affidavit, which deals with the interim control bylaw. And the interim control bylaw was something that planning identified to both council and the ad hoc committee as something that would be required before they could refuse permits. And within the framework of that, they spelled it out categorically that people could build boathouses as long as they met the criteria, the height and the restriction and the opaque nature of the view of the lake and what have you, all of that stuff. Those are policies that have been in place for 35 years. And for council to unilaterally say, we're not issuing permits. They started saying we're not issuing permits because until the outcome of this process with the ad hoc committee. At the end of that process, Big Shot Biggert there, Andy, he sat in council table and said, oh no, I know we own 90% of these. And if you don't play ball, we're going to mess you up real bad. So that's how, so then they changed from wait till the committee's finished until they made the famous declaration, we own it. And make no mistake about it, that was the night they were letting everybody know they were taking over. And it would have worked except for special thanks to the 8 people that, 7 people plus myself that filed lawsuits against the town for what they were doing because it forced them to change their opinion from we own it, because they don't, and they couldn't prove it, and they knew it, they tried to say so, but, and I have to say, in defense of the majority of council that was there that night, they tried to simplify matters, accept the residents' offer to pay a small fee for the town to relinquish any interest they may have, no ownership transfer, nothing. And the mayor was having no part of it, and she had her henchman there, Andrew, dispense with any councillor who raised one special, thanks to Councillor Waddington, was when he said, you know, like, why are we spending money then? We don't know we own it. And then, I mean, that was 2 minutes. That was in answer to the council's declaration that we don't know if we own any of these, when Andrew Biggert interrupted their attempting to have a proper conversation with his declaration of ownership. It ended the conversation. That's what the mayor wanted. That's what Andrew did. And that's what the two of them have been doing together since when Anne Grant, God love her, the most brutal bureaucrat that has ever walked the face of the earth. And in fairness to her, that's the way municipal government runs a lot these days. They raise the specter of public interest and the greater good, and that's code language for we don't got to listen to you. And the mayor does this on a regular basis. She does it on every issue that comes up once she's decided what she's going to do here. And that's her style of management. It goes on in lots of municipalities in Ontario. I just disagree with it. It's far from anything that Georgina has ever had before. We've never had a mayor do like this before. And you know what? Maybe it's the new day. Maybe it's the new age. Like I said, love you, Margaret, Madam Mayor, and you're a good person. I know that. But you've got this thing about deciding what's going to get done and doing whatever it takes to get it done, and I disagree with it as a management style. That's all this is about. And the voters next year will make that decision, not me. And so, well, I'll cast a vote. You better hope it's not one vote. Just kidding. So anyway, you know that. So we're going to start working our way through these documents because it proves categorically that the town always knew that the decisions that have been made in the past have been made on the basis of that neither party could prove they own anything. And the policies and everything are set by that. And they're actually estoppels. And estoppels are principles of agreements made. And there's rights that flow from those estoppel agreements. And the nature of the resolutions that were passed in the past constitute estoppel. And just as a sidebar, both Daryl Blanchard and Alan Darenfeld, who I believe have handled this entire thing terribly, they just have done nothing. Daryl, because I believe he has a conflict with his other developments in town, stated categorically when he wrote the check for $5,000 to start this judicial review that he had to remain anonymous because he was afraid the repercussions or reprisals against, which to me tells me he never should have been there in the first place. I'm sure he meant well, but he just should not have been there. He's done a lot of work, though. He's worked hard for it. He's tried to walk that line, but I just don't think it's possible. And Alan Darenfeld, I have no idea why he had a $45,000 legal fund, has done nothing. Not a letter from a lawyer, not a legal opinion, nothing. The $45,000 sitting there, and he's sending me case law in support of my judicial review. And in the end, when we parted ways was when I wouldn't allow him to step in and start instructing my lawyer, because he's been running it all along, and we know where that got us, and that's just my opinion. And Alan's a good guy, I'm sure. Seems like a nice enough fella. He's a musician, so he can't be all bad. So, but that's my position on it. And the ad hoc committee doesn't exist anymore. I have it in writing that when their recommendations went to council, that was their job was fulfilled. Now Alan and Darrell are keeping it alive with the mayor to cover their butts, and good for you. I hope you cover your butt. But it has no teeth. It had no teeth anyway. Like, what are they keeping it alive for? So they can give some more recommendations that the town won't take. Anyway, I'm getting into 10 and a half minutes, so that's to start with. The one thing is categorical, and that is in the bylaw, the allowable uses in that bylaw, and in the way that they categorize the framework for the entire evolution of this process as an ownership dispute, an attempt to resolve ownership. They offered quiet title. They gave a description of the road being, the travel portion 1.5 meters. People keep asking me about why don't they expropriate? Yeah, it's essentially an expropriation. They want to expropriate land, which they've identified that they don't need, for the express purpose of selling it back to the people that they are expropriating it off. They're never going to give you that land back. They're never going to sell you that land back. And now they've admitted finally that they don't own it. And as a matter of fact, they're taking the weirdest positions in God's green earth. So this is my first volley, and I apologize if I'm a little bit all over the map, but I'll get clear as I move along. So this is 11 and a half minutes. I miss you guys up there in Georgina. It's a tough life down here. Like, the weather's like just hotter than hell. Like, it's just every day I come very close to sweating as I'm walking down to my gazebo in the park to have my coffee and play a little guitar with my friends. So this is Georgina Speaks Midnight Madness. My music, my food. Going out Saturday to milk a cow so I can make a cake from the milk. So I got to make the cheese first, make the sour cream, then make the cake. So it's going to be un cake de la tita la vaca. That's back as a cow. Take care. Have a good night, everybody. And I'll maybe tomorrow night, maybe the day after, and the next day or two, I'll get my documents organized, and I'll start my slideshow, and you'll get the entire picture of where I'm at. And Colin Brown is moving into court, and I'm hoping him and John actually can get some. I made a proposal for some residents whom I'm affiliated with, who've supported me wholeheartedly and financially and moral support. They believe in what it is that I'm doing. And I've made a suggestion. There's 2 or 3 resolutions that could resolve the entire waterfront in a heartbeat. But the mayor wants that waterfront to be undeveloped, nothing there, for the express purpose of calling us a waterfront community. And Georgina, in any commercial sense, is not a waterfront community. We have lots of assets that are water-oriented, but that Lake Drive stretch is a residential community. It has been for 150 years. And the proof is, I'll show it to you later, but I watched the entire June meeting of 2019 when Dan Boudleau, I can't pronounce his name properly, and I don't want to say it wrong, but it's Dan Boudleau, I believe, Boudleau, I think it is. He actually stood up when they approved the waterfront master plan. Now, a waterfront master plan, and every councillor in the June meeting was trying to tell the mayor, we only own 4 parks, why are we doing a lot? And she said, and if you listen, she was like ticked that they were bugging her about it. And she said, Toronto has one, Orillia has one, Whitby has, like all these people that have expansive waterfront public commercial properties, and comparing Georgina to them. And the reason is she's got her eye on the whole waterfront. We only own 4 parks. She spent $300,000 on this study, but Dan Boudleau, I believe his name is, said phase 1, all 3 phases were approved that night, $300,000 they're spending on a study for 4 parks. And what he said was, the phase 1 will be out early 2021, and I think that's all gone on the wayside now. And but what he said was, the list of town assets will be made available by that time as part of phase one of the study, and it will include these privately owned properties that are the subject of the Shoreline Action Plan, I believe. And if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me, but I watched the meeting the other night. It was pretty clear. So anyway, take care. Have a good night. I'm gonna go play a little more guitar, and it's only midnight, so I might head back down to the gazebo because my friends usually are in the habit of showing up about 1 or 2. Take care, everyone. Love yous all, miss yous.